Hi, and welcome to High Tech Knowledge.
In this broadcasting, I will be speaking about GMOs. GMOs. What does the abbreviation of GMO mean? Genetically modified organisms. What do I mean by genetically modifying organisms? I simply mean is that
Within our foods, there are GMOs, right? And within those foods, being that they have GMOs, you want to come to an understanding with yourself. Within the food, certain brands are genetically modifying people organisms.
now, when I say that to enlighten you, okay? So you can understand what is actually going on with food. Now I want you to understand this. When it comes to food, food is an informational source for the mind. Understand that. Food was never food. That was more of an illusion towards the mind. But food is an informational source for the mind. And based on what type of information sources that you want to eat from, that you put inside of your mind, is based on what type of reality you get from your subconscious. So, GMOs stand for genetically modifying organisms within the brands that you eat, within the food that you eat. Understand that. So think about it.
If you have GMOs within your foods, then look at it from this standpoint. If there's GMOs within the foods that we eat, then these brands would be the ones that are genetically modifying your organisms. Now, when someone genetically modifies your organisms, realize that your mind is an organism, your eyes is an organism, your stomach is an organism.
Everything that's within your body consists to be an organ. Now, if someone is giving you GMOs within your food that can genetically modify your organisms, you got to think about it. It would be like a form of someone hacking your conscience unawarely based on the information that you choose to eat from. At the end of the day, we all have decisions of what we want to do. And I'm not going to judge you on what you do. But always understand that when it comes to GMOs, these brands that we choose to eat from are genetically modifying our organisms in order to just eat from these selected brands. Now, these brands don't have true information for your conscious.
Always understand that when it comes to food, it's an informational source for the mind. You're not eating to feed your stomach. You're eating to feed your conscious, your mind, information. Understand that with yourself. So think about it. Imagine someone modifying your controller as in a game console. In order to operate the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox, you have a controller. Your mind would be the controller of the body. So understand that if someone is genetically modifying your mind, then that means that they want access to your mind. And if they genetically modify your mind and have access to your mind, then they can genetically modify your body. It's all a flow of information, depending on what type of information that you want to choose from.
And we should all think about that. when we're going out in our daily days or existences and choosing to eat certain foods that are technically information for our minds. The mind was always an information processor, an information receiver. It wasn't just a mind. It processed and received data, depending on what type of data that you're searching for, what type of data you desire. Understand that. So now, when it comes to GMOs, and when we look at the foods that we eating that are information, and when we turn the box around in order to see the ingredients stand for information. That's what ingredients stand for, information for your mind. When you look at the back of the label, it tells you what type of ingredients are in there. Okay? Now, this is what I would say.
These forms of information that are inside of your local markets, grocery stores, are there for you to purchase. But at the same time, would it be you making the decision in order for them to have access to genetically modifying your organisms? Because we all had to play a role here. And we all have to take responsibility of ourselves and our decisions that we make. So I say to you, as you watch this video and get enlightened about what's going on in the world,
the decisions that you make can cause an effect within your present world, within your future world. What do I mean by that? As in, if you eat from informational sources, right, that have GMOs within it, you have a lifespan. Most people want to live a long, comfortable life. But to live a long, comfortable life or balanced life, you have to come to the understanding what food and the information that's within the food. Because if you're eating information as in artificial ingredients is nothing but artificial intelligence for the mind. Understand that. Artificial ingredients. AI. That's what it is. For the mind. So you have to come to the understanding
that when it comes to food as well, it's all the same. It's an informational source for the mind though. Okay? So you have to come to the understanding that GMOs, right? Depending on what type of GMO you are searching for, gives that brand the information to genetically modify your organisms. And if someone, like I said before, if someone is genetically modifying your organisms, then that means they can genetically modify your mind. I mean, think about it. If they genetically modify your mind, and the mind is the controller of the body, then think about it. Are they not putting your mind in a rotation or a repeat or a past in order for you to keep coming to that same information?
Because food is an information source for the mind. Remember that. Think about it. If someone genetically modified you, your mind, and modified your mind, which is your controller of the body, wouldn't they not put your mind in a repeat mode where you repeatedly keep eating from those brands that have GMOs within them? You got to really think about that. Now, I say that to inform you, not to stir you the wrong way or to scare you at all. I'm just informing you what's going on. I'm not the one that's doing it to you. You got to look at the people that are doing it to you. I'm just informing you what's going on. That's it.
Okay? So now, when it comes to the GMOs that are within our foods, okay? They are there to genetically modify you as who you are and to make you into something that you shouldn't become. I mean, think about it. You gotta really think about it. Genetically modifying organisms, you see majority of people like negativity, right? Well, you don't think the information that's within the food, the GMO, is not modifying their mind only to receive negative energy? See? You know how some people say they don't have control over themselves.
They don't have control over themselves. Because if they had control of themselves, they would realize that food was an informational source for the mind. And if you have GMOs within the food, then that type of information can genetically modify the mind as well. Understand that. It's within the brands that we eat. Okay? Look at the things that you put in your mouth. Because the things that you put in your mouth is no longer food, it's information. When you look at the information that you put inside your mouth, then you realize that if food is an information, my stomach is no longer a stomach. It is now an information processor, because the information that I'm putting in my mouth, right, is now being processed through what? My first information processor that a lot of people call a stomach. Now, when those GMOs are being broken down inside of your stomach, which is your information processor, those GMOs got to be sent somewhere. Now, a lot of people think that when their stomach is processing information, which is an information processor, they think like, okay, the body's going to take certain information and then after that, extract all the information out from their poop. But there's further steps than just that. Once you take in information, a GMO, right? The GMO is now going to go into your stomach, which is technically an information processor. The information that you put in now has to process through. And now the information has to transfer somewhere else. When the information is being processed, the GMO, the information of that GMO has to now travel up to the conscious, the mind. Okay? And when that information gets traveled up to the mind, understand that technically the mind is going through a control spell.
Because the information that is within the food is a genetically modified organism. So think about it. That information that would be in there would genetically modify your mind. Understand that.
And again, like I wanted to say before, think about the GMOs that's within the foods that come from the grocery stores that we buy. Understand that. Because when you realize that food is an informational source for the mind, then you no longer give these brands, right, the chance to actually operate within your mind. Understand that.
When you start to read what you are putting up here, because what you put up here is what you project through your eyes. And how it works is this. If you was to eat something that has a GMO in it, that information modifies your mind. That information modified the mind.
That information is within the mind. The subconscious reads that information and now projects that GMO through your eyes. Understand that the mind is an information receiver. Understand that your subconscious, okay, is the information projector. And once it projects the information through the eyes. That's why you're able to see certain things. Okay? Now, when it comes to things that we eat, we have to realize it's information of what we eat. I have another video that is talking about artificial ingredients that you should also look at as well. Because artificial ingredients and GMOs are all pretty much in the same category. The only difference is they have different systems of how they operate within the mind, within the body. Okay?
So, like I had said before, we have GMOs that are inside of the foods. And those GMOs that are within the foods are set there to genetically modify organisms within us. Now, let me say this. Some people say that a lot of people, they don't operate with their heart. Okay. They don't operate with their heart chakra. Okay. I understand what you're saying. But at the same time, that individual is choosing an informational source for their conscious in order to give access to the GMO, the genetically modified organism of information, access to basically shut off the technology of the heart. Understand that when you say people don't operate with their heart, they don't operate in their full purpose. It's because when it comes down to GMOs, they are genetically modifying organisms. So if they're genetically modifying organisms, then that simply means some people can't be operating within their heart if the GMO of that information is turning off the heart towards that being. You can't expect a being to operate within a heart if genetically they have been modified. And you got to really understand that with people. Some people just don't have their heart. They have it within
them, but it's not activated. It has been deactivated. And that's something that we have to be responsible with ourselves. Is to understand that the things that we enjoy so much are not technically joy. Technically would be pain, inflammation. You know how I said food is an information source for the mind? Well, just think about it. If you didn't choose a true informational source for the mind, as in produce, right? And you choose artificial ingredients, which is artificial information, or let's say a GMO, a genetically modified organism. That's what type of information that you're putting inside of your body, which would be inflammation for the body. Because it's not developing true information for the body. It is only developing inflammation for the body. Now, when I say this, I don't mean to pick on anyone or to downgrade anyone. But I have to say this in front of you so you can understand. Okay? We all have a mind that we should use. And we all should make great decisions of what we do in our existences of our life. Now, I say to you, would it be a great decision for myself, right, to eat inflammation, artificial ingredients that's going to make my body to develop into an unnatural body, as in
me going from the size that I am now to going to a size of 300 pounds and being unhealthy. Now think about it. The genetically modified organism that's in the food is genetically modifying the mind in order to keep the mind at a state where it does not want to work for itself. It does not want to cook for itself or produce for itself. That's what genetically modified organisms can do inside you, if you shall place them there. Okay? Now,
I would like to get to the solution. When it comes to a brand genetically modifying your organisms, how could you get rid of that program that has been installed in your hardware. Understand, the body is hardware, okay? Understand, the things that we put in is the software. The food is an informational source, software. Understand that? So now, the solution to this would be this. You see that my background consists of Mother Nature. Understand that. Now, understand this as well.
When I spoke to you and told you about GMOs that are in certain brands in order to genetically modify your organisms, in order to make you go in an unbalanced life, which would be going in darkness.
There's also a light side when it comes to GMOs as well. When it comes to Mother Nature, she has GMOs also within her plants. But think about it. If a brand has a genetically modified organism in there, to make you genetically modify you as who you are, to make you live into an unbalanced life, Mother Nature never hurted no one. So when it comes naturally with her system, right, she has GMOs as well in order to genetically modify your organisms back into the rightful place, the rightful information that you're supposed to receive, right, from the produce. See, we don't understand. The word produce stood for to produce the mind, to produce the intelligence of the mind. When it comes to Mother Nature, there's intelligence, information within the plants that we eat, within the berries that we choose to eat. There's information in order to keep the mind aligned with your conscious, your subconscious, your self-conscious. So think about it.
When it comes to produce, when it comes to Mother Nature, she does have GMOs, but it's to naturally genetically modify you, to get you back in the mind state that originally that you came here with. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't realize that GMOs have two different systems. A system of darkness
and a system of lightness. Now understand this. As you eat produce, right, there are GMOs within the produce that genetically modify your heart to reactivate, for your stomach to reactivate and naturally receive natural information, not artificial information. Your mind to receive natural information. She's putting you back in the mind state of who you truly are towards yourself, your subconscious, your self-conscious. Understand that. So think about it.
If the enemy of a brand genetically modified your organisms in order to make you live an unbalanced life
within total darkness, no light, then what system, okay, what system would get rid of that genetically modified organism to make you live that unbalanced life? It is the scene that is behind me. It is the true mother of this planet. She has the information to genetically modify your organisms back in a truthful state of how you came here when you was a baby. To keep your mind state in a natural mind state. For you to operate with your higher self. For you to understand your higher self. What your true purpose is in life. Not what the world forecasts on you, but what you can forecast on yourself. Understand that.
So think about it. When it comes to Mother Nature genetically modifying our organisms, what type of information is she giving us? What type of information are we integrating with when it comes to Mother Nature? Understand that. Mother
Nature ain't never harmed no one, but the brands that you choose to eat from grocery stores or certain markets are genetically modifying your mind, your heart, your stomach, and every other organism that's within you. Now it's time for you to come out the past way and now come into the present way.
in order to lead you into the future way. Understand that with yourself. What can you say that Mother Nature has done wrong? Nothing to no one. But she can give you the true information in order to genetically modify your organisms to receive proper information of yourself. In order to get the old past world out your mind. Right. In order to put you into the present world that you exist in. You exist in the present. You don't no longer need to be in the past world because the past world is a teacher towards the mind. In order to show you, are these the things that you like? And if you don't like them, then it becomes something of your past. Because now you have stepped away from the past and now
Became the present. And the present